Not long after, Baek found his dying wife. He carried her on his back and rushed to the hospital. In a daze, Jade was utterly certain that even though she couldn't speak or cry for help, her husband was the only one who could find her. She didn't know how much time had passed when she woke up from her coma. Seeing this, Baek, who had stayed up all night, was about to call the doctor, but was stopped by her. The words "don't go" seemed to strike Baek's soft spot. He immediately crouched by the bedside, comforting his wife with a trembling voice, telling her he wouldn't go anywhere, while gently stroking her forehead and repeatedly whispering, "It's okay." Perhaps feeling a sense of security, Jade slowly drifted off to sleep. In the afternoon, during a medical check-up, Jade somewhat regretted speaking in front of her husband. At the same time, she felt as though he might have figured out that she had pretended to be a robber. If that were the case, she couldn't quite understand why Baek hadn't exposed her. Could it be that he was waiting for her to be discharged, planning to use this matter as an opportunity to file for divorce, kick her out, and demand the 2 billion won in penalty fees? The thought sent a cold sweat running down Jade's back. On the other side, a subordinate reported to Baek that the mountain's surveillance had not captured the suspect's appearance. Moreover, the scene was too chaotic at the time of the incident, so no witnesses had been found so far. In addition, the customized phone had also been examined, confirming that the virus used during the voice changing analysis had originated from its program. The scene shifts to Jade being returned to her ward. Baek immediately scooped her up without warning, saying he liked feeling her heartbeat, and then carefully placed her back on the bed. He then sat down beside her and bluntly stated that he had long known she could speak. The conversation quickly shifted to the kidnapper, who made the phone call. Baek mentioned that if it hadn't been for that person revealing Jade's location, he might not have found her so quickly. Now, he was conflicted. Should he turn the kidnapper over to the police or forgive her for saving a life? Jade pursed her lips and remained silent. Just as she was about to confess everything, Baek interrupted her, telling her she needed to rest and recuperate. While he was curious about many things, he promised to hold back and wait until she recovered to ask questions. After giving her a list of precautions, Baek left the ward. Taking advantage of the moment, Jade checked her bag and found that the special phone was still inside. She couldn't help but wonder, had her husband not opened it? Early the next morning, Baek ordered his team to keep the Cliff Fall incident confidential, ensuring the victim's identity wouldn't leak. In the evening, Baek learned that his wife wanted something sweet, so he brought her a large box of fruits. However, Jade pointed out that they hadn't been washed yet. Hearing this, Baek froze for a moment, then quickly washed a bunch of grapes. He then took out some daily necessities from his bag. When Jade asked why he had brought them, Baek casually replied that they were for family members staying in the hospital and announced that he would stay overnight with her. Without waiting for her reaction, he walked straight into the bathroom. Jade, taken aback, began wondering where he planned to sleep. Just then, the sound of running water came from the bathroom. Was he taking a shower? A moment later, Baek came out and invited Jade to join him in the bathroom. It turned out he had just adjusted the water temperature to help his immobile wife wash her hair. For the first time in their 3 years of marriage, Jade genuinely felt her husband's tenderness. After washing her hair, the domineering CEO transformed into a hairstylist, personally blow-drying her hair. Yet Jade couldn't understand why he was being so kind to her. In truth, Baek felt both regret and guilt, realizing that he had never really done anything for Jade before. The scene shifts to 9:30 p.m. After finishing his shower, Baek came to the bedside, causing Jade to shyly close her eyes. In reality, he was just trying to grab his phone without disturbing his supposedly sleeping wife, a beautiful misunderstanding. Sometime later, Jade woke up to find Baek no longer in the ward, and the clock had just struck 10. Meanwhile, Baek received a call from the kidnapper, who was, of course, Jade herself. However, Baek suddenly revealed that he knew the caller was a woman under 30 and jokingly asked if she was pretty. His teasing tone made Jade exclaim that no man could be trusted. Baek then inquired about the kidnapper's outfit, wondering if it was something sexy, since her voice suggested a slim figure matching a fiery personality. Jade was left speechless and, in her kidnapper persona, loudly reminded Baek that he was a married man. In truth, Baek was laying the groundwork for a proposal to team up with Jade to catch the real kidnapper. He swore to make the person who pushed his beloved wife off the cliff experience tenfold the same suffering. Paek then asked the fake kidnapper to provide details about the real culprit's appearance. Soon after, Paek handed over the clues he had gathered from Jade to the TV station. The TV station followed Paek's instructions and publicly released the real kidnapper's personal information. Furious after seeing the news, the real kidnapper confronted his mentor, questioning why he had been framed. Weren't they supposed to work together to get rid of Paek? Why had Jade become the target instead? Unexpectedly, the mentor responded that Jade no longer intended to divorce Paek. Therefore, he wanted Paek to experience the pain of losing someone he cherished. The next step in their plan was to retrieve the customized phone. Soon after, Jade received a text message from the real kidnapper, saying, "Since you've gotten away, return the phone. Open the door now." Paek, mistakenly thinking something had happened, used all his strength to force open the ward door. Seeing her husband enter, Jade panicked and dove into his arms. Perhaps her taut nerves suddenly relaxed, and as soon as she realized she was safe, she fainted. To ensure his wife felt completely secure, Paek held Jade in his arms as they slept. Soon, it was 10 p.m. Jade quietly took the customized phone and carefully left the ward. However, Paek had not actually fallen asleep. Once again, Jade dialed her husband's number, asking, "If you want to catch the real kidnapper, you'll need evidence. Right. When will you need the phone I have?" The implication was clear. She was ready to reveal her true identity. Paek had been waiting for this moment for a long time, so he arranged to meet his wife at an amusement park. This was actually his way of making up for her unfulfilled wishes. Eventually, the two met at the top of a tower. Paek confessed that he had known the fake kidnapper's identity all along but had been waiting for her to admit it herself. He then made a heartfelt declaration of love. After a kiss that solidified their feelings, their relationship became noticeably closer. However, Jade couldn't resist a bit of complaining. She pointed out that, after their marriage, her husband neither talked to her nor made eye contact, let alone shared meals, or even a bed with her. But as she realized what she was saying, she awkwardly stopped herself, swallowing the last two words. Unexpectedly, Paek gave her a mischievous smile. While wiping a grain of rice from the corner of her mouth, he teased her, saying that if she didn't want to sleep in separate rooms, she should have told him sooner. Paek went on to explain that his previous distant and even cautionary behavior was rooted in fear. He was afraid that if he didn't maintain boundaries, his feelings for her would deepen, and he might give his heart to her, imagining a future where they lived together as a true couple. This left Jade a little confused. She recalled her husband once mentioning a plan. Could their growing relationship interfere with that plan? Paek didn't answer directly. Instead, he promised that when the time was right, he would reveal everything. The next day, Jade didn't wake up until noon. The living room was empty, and there was no sign of Paek. It seemed like he had already gone to work. However, when she called him, the phone went unanswered. Jade's emotions instantly collapsed. Had everything her husband said the night before been a lie? Or was it that she simply couldn't forgive being deceived? With these questions weighing on her, she woke up from a nightmare. Nervously, she opened the bedroom door and saw her husband still sound asleep. A sense of relief washed over her. As she reached out to touch him, Paek asked if she would spend the day resting with him and casually inquired if there was anything she wanted to do together. In truth, Jade often fantasized about spending a sunny afternoon with her husband, sitting in a park, having a picnic while learning sign language, or strolling along the riverbank in the evening, chatting about the day's events. She longed for a simple, ordinary life, just like other regular couples. Just then, her phone rang. It was a colleague speaking urgently, informing her that something major had happened at the office. When Paek arrived at the office, it was completely empty. Suddenly, a colleague jumped out from the side. It turned out that this colleague had noticed the spokesperson had been feeling down lately, so he arranged a surprise for him with the help of the team. Unfortunately, this had disrupted the couple's sweet moment. At that very moment, one of Paek's subordinates had something urgent to report. Using counter-tracking technology, he had managed to locate the real kidnapper. Meanwhile, Jade received another threatening text message. The message stated that she didn't even understand 1% of Paek, and included a video that seemed unrelated at first glance. However, Jade suddenly remembered something. It seemed connected to her university senior Shaw. She immediately arranged to meet him to inquire about a child disappearance case from many years ago, which had taken place at an orphanage. Meanwhile, Paek followed the address and found the abandoned orphanage. Upon entering, he noticed that on the second-floor corridor, an old variety show was playing on a screen. The video was very brief and seemed normal at first. Before Paek could think much about it, large text appeared on the screen, saying, "You killed him, Paek." The video then resumed playing. This time, Paek noticed a scrolling news ticker at the bottom of the screen, which was an urgent news update about a child who had gone missing from the orphanage. Meanwhile, Shaw brought Jade to the entrance of the orphanage, still puzzled as to why both she and the spokesperson were so interested in the missing child case. However, the tone quickly shifted as Shaw suggested it was getting late and proposed they return the next day when it was light out. He then started the car, ready to drive back the way they came. Coincidentally, the sound of the engine caught Paek's attention. He immediately blocked Shaw's car and dragged Jade into the passenger seat of his own vehicle. Paek then warned Shaw to stay away from Jade from now on. He also questioned how much Shaw knew about the missing child case and whether he intended to take revenge once the culprit was found. Paek advised him to stop investigating any further. But Shaw wasn't about to give up easily. After all, the missing child had been his best friend. Paek was forced to make it clear the real suspect wasn't the missing child but Shaw himself. Ever since Shaw had appeared, the threats, the kidnapping, and the explosions had begun. Was all of this just a coincidence? Though Paek didn't explicitly say it, the implication was clear. Jade handed the text message from the real kidnapper to her husband. But after understanding the situation, Paek didn't understand why she didn't directly ask him and instead went to ask Shaw. Jade explained that she was very afraid of her husband. This caused Paek to misunderstand, thinking that his wife didn't understand him. In reality, Jade was worried that her husband would discover the fake kidnapper and no longer want to see her. Jade was afraid that one day she would wake up to find her husband suddenly missing, as if all his kindness to her had been a dream. That feeling was truly both empty and sad. She felt that it was impossible for her to so easily find happiness. Before she could finish speaking, Paek immediately pulled Jade into his arms. After thinking for a moment, Jade suggested that they show each other their worst sides. Upon hearing this, Paek solemnly told his wife that if anything were to happen to him, the Paek she knew would disappear, along with the grandson of the tycoon, the son of the candidate. Even if he personally gave up these honors, he asked his wife to always remember that the Paek who deeply loved Jade would forever be there. The next morning, colleague Ken reported that someone had called, saying that the person was still alive before hanging up. Being quick-witted, he checked the incoming number and found it was a landline from a certain merchant. Paek decided to personally investigate. As a result, he ran into Jade in the elevator. As the crowd grew, they were pushed together. The young man immediately took his wife's hand and, without hesitation, pulled her beside him. He then used sign language to indicate that he would be home for dinner earlier that night. Jade praised him for making progress. To her surprise, the young man was overjoyed to the core. By the time everyone had gotten off the elevator, he was still hiding in the corner, continuously practicing on his own. Those around him couldn't help but laugh. That night, Jade waited for a long time, but her husband didn't come home. At that moment, Yan suddenly visited. She handed her sister a paternity test report and emphasized that Paek was not the biological son of the Paek's family. It was only then that Jade understood the true meaning behind her husband's words from the previous night. Meanwhile, Paek found the merchant who had made the call. As soon as he entered, a violent explosion occurred. Extra story. Paek grew up with his grandfather, who was a merchant. It wasn't until one night that he saw an old man trying to drown a child, and the next day, the old man's family adopted him. On the opening day of the amusement park, Jade and her siblings had planned to go and have fun. However, they were involved in a car accident on the way, which resulted in the younger brother's death on the spot and the older sister becoming deaf. Only Jade, who was caught in the middle, remained unharmed. From then on, the amusement park became a taboo in the family. Not only was it forbidden to go there, but even mentioning it was off limits. While flipping through the photos from the office team building event, Jade unexpectedly discovered that in every photo where she and Paek were together, her husband's gaze was always on her. His eyes were filled with nothing but affection and adoration. This was the moment Jade found the courage to continue, even after discovering Paek's true identity.